Okay, class, I want you to raise your hand and tell me if you've ever gone to the doctor before and they've measured how tall you are. Good, all of you. So when they're measuring how tall you are, they're taking the length of your body and they're taking a measurement of it. And they usually do that in inches. Inches is a way that we can measure here in the United States. Sometimes you could be like 40 inches tall, you could be 35 inches tall, there could be any type of length, but that's a form of measurement. And we're going to work on today how to measure and the importance of knowing how to measure. We're going to start off by looking at this picture of this plant. Can you guys tell me if this picture of the plant, does the plant look big or does it look small? Yes. And why do you think so? Just because it looks like it could be tall in the picture? Okay, that's one reasoning. Just using your eyesight as a good observation. How about anybody else? And why do you think it looks tall? Because the stem of the plant looks tall. Okay, that's a really good observation as well. Does anybody think it could be short? Yes. And why? Okay, because you saw one that looked like it at the store before and it was short. Those are all really good observations. But if you guys notice, you guys all had different ideas and different reasoning as to why it could be short or tall. And that's why knowing how to measure is important. Because what if I tell you to go to the store and get a short plant? What I think is a short plant could be something different as to what you think a short plant is. But if we know how to measure and I say go to the store and get a 8-inch tall plant, you would be able to do so by being able to measure the plant. And that's what we're going to work on today is how to measure. I'm going to pass out a picture of this rose to every table, and I want everyone at the table to work together to measure how tall you think the rose is. So I want everyone to get out their rulers. I'm going to pass the paper around, and I'm going to give you guys all 5 minutes to measure the plant and to work together to do so. I'm going to walk around to see how you guys are doing. Okay, guys, 5 minutes are up. Great job. I heard really good conversations about measuring and some really good ideas. Let's all see what every table now measured their plant at. Table 1. What length did you guys get the rose at? 10 inches? Okay. And how did you guys measure at 10 inches? You put the ruler over the picture. Okay, good idea. And you look to see what number it got to. That's a great idea. How about table 2? What did you guys get? Okay, you guys got 11 inches. And how did you guys get that? The same thing as table 1? Okay, interesting, because we have 2 different numbers. Table 3, how about you? What number did you guys get? You got between 10 and 11. Okay, so I'll write 10-11 to show that we got a number in between there. Interesting, and how did you guys do it? You put the ruler next to it, and you had it start, okay, I see, and you had it start between 0 and 1. Okay, great. Table 4, you guys got 11 as well. Interesting. How did you guys do it? You put it next to the flower, okay, and you guys drew a line to make sure that they were both starting at the same point across the ruler. Okay, that's a really good technique. And then table 5, what did you guys get? Oh, you got over 11. Okay. And how did you guys do it? Okay, seems like your table kind of had some different ideas. Okay, that's okay. Well, we're going to now work on how we all did this, and we're going to learn how to measure so we can all get the same number, because as you see, we all got different answers and we had different ways to measure. So to learn how to measure with a ruler, we're going to watch this video.
Using a ruler to measure inches. Can you help me learn to measure? Here's my problem. I wanted to figure out the length of my pencil. I tried to measure correctly, but I kept getting different answers. Let me show you what I did. My first try, I got 6 inches. Do you see something wrong? My second try, I got 8 inches. Do you see something wrong? third try, I got 18 inches. Do you see something wrong? Oh, I think I understand. So I have to make sure I line up the object with the ruler. I have to start right at 0, and I have to pay attention to the unit to make sure that I'm using inches and not centimeters. Okay, so let's see. I put my pencil straight across the ruler. I started right at 0. And I made sure that I was using inches and not centimeters. So the pencil is 7 inches long. Awesome! Thanks for helping me learn how to measure. Maybe when you try to measure, you can use these same rules.
Okay, so let's go over the rules that they taught us in that video, because these are the rules that we will be following. So when using a ruler, we want to make sure that our object is lined up with our ruler. We want to make sure that it is starting at the 0 of the ruler, because if you notice on a ruler, there is a little gap between the end of the ruler and a 0. So we want to make sure we're starting it at the line where the 0 is and not at the end of the ruler. And we want to make sure that we're paying to the right unit. And today we'll be using inches, so we'll only want to be using the side of the ruler that goes from 0 to 12. So now that we know how to use our ruler, let's learn how to read our ruler. If you look at the ruler, we have numbers 0 through 12 on it for inches, but there's also all of these little lines in between those numbers. Now those lines are there for a reason, but today we're just going to be learning to measure to the nearest whole number. So we won't be paying attention to those little lines right now. Now we're going to watch, I'm going to read over a PowerPoint and we're going to learn how to measure with the numbers on the ruler. Okay, measuring to the whole number. Rules when measuring with a ruler. We want to line up the object with the ruler. We want to make sure that we're starting at the 0, and we want to pay attention to what unit we're measuring in, just like we talked about. Now let's look at the length. You learned before that we can measure with other objects other than ruler to help learn the length of something. One thing that you've used before is cubes. So if we look here, we can see that this line here is 1, 2, 3, 4 cubes long. And if we look here, we can see that our line is 1, 2, 3, 3 cubes long. But how does that have to do with measuring in inches? Since you know how to measure with blocks, let's measure with a ruler. And we're using inches. How is measuring with the blocks and measuring with a ruler alike? Like we did with the blocks, we want to line up the object at 0 on the ruler and then count the number of inches like we counted the number of blocks. Let's practice. So as you can see, we have the pencil lined up with the ruler. We have the pencil starting at the 0. And if we go to the end of the pencil, we have 6 inches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's measure the leaf. Again, we make sure that it's lined up at the 0, that the ruler is straight with the object. And let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. So the leaf is 8 inches long. But what happens if the object is between two numbers? And some of you guys got that when you were measuring the rows. And that's a great question. Since we're just beginning to measure with inches, we're just going to measure to the whole unit. Let me show you. How tall is this flower? we see that the flower is starting at the 0, that the ruler is in line with the flower, and that we are using inches. Since the flower is taller than 9 inches, but it's shorter than 10 inches, we're going to see what number it's closest to. As you can see, the line here is closer to the 10 than it is to the 9. So we're going to say it's 10 inches tall. Let's try another one. How long is this petal? Since the petal is longer than 5 inches and it's shorter than 6 inches, we're going to see what number it's closest to. Can anyone tell me? Yep, 5 inches, because we are closer to the 5 than we are to the 6. Now you try. I'm going to hand out a packet to everybody, and we're going to practice measuring parts of a flower. And we're going to be measuring to the nearest whole inch like we just learned. Okay, now that everyone got it, let's practice. We're going to do number 1 together. And then you'll do the rest after. So let's all get our ruler. Make sure we have it on inches where it's 0 to 12. And we are going to line up our ruler with the leaf. Do we start at the end of the ruler? Nope, because that's not where the 0 starts. Yep, we're going to start at the 0. So as you can see for our leaf, it's between 2 numbers. I have it between 4 and 5. Does everybody else have that as well? Okay, good. What number do you guys have it closer to? Do you have it closer to the 4 or to the 5? The 5, me too. So for number 1, we would write that it is 5 inches long. You guys are going to continue doing the same thing throughout the packet as well.